Hey everyone, back to another chess video. Today we're going to be looking at an Italian that I played. It was a pretty high accuracy game. I think it was like 93%. It is just a really clean game showing how positional the Italian can be, and how if you're not careful as black, you can get into some pretty sharp tactical play that you will just get blown off the board if you're really not careful with the Italian. So the game starts e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, the Italian. Um, there's a lot of ways that this can go. He can go d6, knight f3. I've seen people fianchetto. I don't know if that is that great of a line. Bishop can come out to either of these squares, but most often c5. The most common responses I'll see is knight here and bishop here, really in either order. A lot of times in the Italian, there is pretty slow opening development moves that both sides are looking to put their pieces out, and there's nothing too pressing. If bishop comes out, there is the Evans Gambit if you're looking for getting the game going a little bit quicker. Sometimes black will just throw d5 out immediately. Sometimes knight f3 then d5. There's a million different ways this can go, but most of the time it goes along the lines that we see in the game of knight f6, e3, supporting the pawn in the center, bishop c5, developing the dark squared bishop, preparing to castle, c3. The reason c3 is played from white is because you're preparing d4, but you're also, in some lines, preparing b4, bishop comes back, and throwing the queenside pawns down the board. If black is not paying attention, this bishop can get trapped pretty quickly when these pawns start coming down the board. A lot of times, if you play b4, this bishop retreats, you play a4, and then the opponent responds with a6, giving a little luft for the bishop. In that same vein, if you push b4 and the bishop retreats, you can push b5, sending this knight away, but not always a good idea, because a lot of times this knight will rotate to g6 anyway. So a lot of times black wants to put his knight on g6, eventually coming to f4. So not a good idea to immediately get going down the board on the queen side just yet, but that is a move. So after c3, opponent responds d6, looking to get this light squared bishop out. There is a couple different places it can go. A lot of times you'll see castles and then bishop e6, hoping for a trade on e6, and then this rook becomes active. And then with the pawn here, it allows black to play d5. And if you take, he takes back, and he has two pawns in the center that are a little bit tough to deal with, especially down one of your bishops. So when the bishop comes out, you know the Italian, and you know what to expect from black. Exchanging is not a bad idea, but if you don't know what to expect, you might just want to retreat your bishop back and try to let black take. You will get doubled pawns, but then your rook will be active. So I would say if you're not that comfortable with the Italian and the typical plans and structures, maybe pull your bishop back. If you know that this is a move, you know that the rook is going to be open, you know that he's going to be pushing in the center, and you know how to respond to that, then taking, I believe, is the better move engine-wise, but I could be wrong about that. Besides bishop e6, black will try to pin this knight. Another good thing about having your pawn on c3 is if it was on c2 and this bishop pins, this knight can quickly hop in to d4, and then it's just tough to deal with trading off this knight and then having to damage your pawn structure, because a lot of times white looks to castle kingside in the Italian, so giving this doubled pawns to yourself and the open g file, the semi-open g file, is pretty detrimental. So that's what c3 also does. I have seen just bishop d7, looking to put the queen behind it and rotate this knight around here, and then maybe planting it there, looking to attack these two pawns. A lot of times you'll push h3 to prevent the pin, so then it would be pawn here and pawn here. I don't think that's the best move, but you will see people trying to do that. It's fairly easy to defend against, but can just be a little bit annoying if you're not anticipating it, but nothing to be too worried about. So after d6, I play h3, just trying to prevent this pin. I just really don't care to deal with the pin. It's a book move. It's still all theory, so nothing too crazy here. a6. This person obviously knows a lot of times white will go b4, b4, a4, or b4, a3. So just preemptively looking to retreat this bishop back. I respond with a3 because I was anticipating he was going to bring his bishop here, and I know a lot of times in that case, in that scenario, if you didn't have this luff, you'd retreat your bishop here and create double pawns, which is not the end of the world. However, if you retreat it back to a2, you can recapture with this rook, and then eventually if you push here, this rook can be joined up with the other rook to kind of quickly double up on whatever file you're looking to double up on, often the E file, the E or D file. So that is my thinking here, is that I know this is often a move. I'm looking to retreat my bishop back, trying to let him take me and take back with the rook. So that was my thinking there. While I'm reviewing it, let's just see what the engine says. I'm wondering if bishop a2 is best, or if it wants me to take. Bishop takes e6. So it actually wants me to take. See what it says about bishop a2, if that's a bad move. Get an accuracy. I've played this before. Maybe this is just not the right position to play it, but I've played this before, and it's a good move, but maybe just not in this position. So back to the game. a3. Knight e7. Looking to rotate the knight to g6. I play knight d2. You're looking to castle. Rook goes to e1 to support this pawn, and eventually you'll be pushing d4. But after you castle, rook to e1, this knight can go either from f1 to g3 or to e3, depending on how the game goes. So that's why you knight d2, looking to castle, rook e1, and then this knight cycles over here, because once this knight comes here, maybe bishop here, queen here, a lot of the play is on the king side, so you're trying to maneuver your pieces over to the king side in anticipation for attacks on the king side, either towards you or you launching an attack to your opponent's king side. Your response c6. This is anticipating or preparing d5. I wasn't too worried about it because I could take, or I could just retreat my bishop back and let him take me and then take here. This would be open, but it's nothing game-ending or decisive. It says white is slightly better, but I think this is probably more accurate, of plus 0.14, so it's really just even. So I respond with castle. I'm just going to continue developing, continue my plan of rook e1 and knight coming to g3. Here, c6 is a fine move, but I think it's just a little bit preemptive. When he hasn't castled, this knight hasn't made its way to g6 yet, and this bishop is undeveloped. So although it's fine, it's not winning or losing on either side by any means. Just a bit of a waste of a tempo when your king is still in the middle. So at this point in the game, I thought to myself, this is a fairly symmetrical position, especially with the pawn structure. I have a couple more moves to finish my development. He definitely has a couple more moves, but I'm going to quickly think about, I'm going to quickly try to prepare this knight coming here, queen here, and then either pinning this knight, try to exchange the bishops, or just straight up pushing d4. So that was my thinking at this point on move 9 in the game. He pulls back bishop a7. This is perfectly fine, retreating the bishop so that this d4 doesn't come with tempo. Because if you look back, I should have pointed this out earlier. It does want me to push, the engine does want me to push d4 pretty quickly, but I just, in the game, I wasn't ready to do that. I'd rather get my king safe, get my pieces a little bit on more active squares where I want them. But d4 is definitely a threat, especially with this pawn here and with this knight here in a little bit. It's definitely a threat. So bishop a7, rook e1, d5. d5 I was a little bit curious about because I was fully anticipating him breaking open the center. d5, I can just retreat my bishop back, and you're expanding on the queen side, so that hints to me you're obviously going to castle king side. There's no attack going on here. Your pieces are going to maneuver to the king side. You have nothing over here, and I have nothing over here, so I'm not sure where this came from. Because I can just retreat my bishop back. You're not pushing these pawns here. The attack isn't going to be going on the queen side with all our pieces on the king side. So I just thought that was a bit of a waste of a move. I really didn't understand that one. I know the engine says it's fine, but you can see like the next move is going to be knight g6 in both the kind of top lines. Castles, knight g6, like no engine is suggesting b5 here. Bishop a2, just retreated my bishop back. I didn't go here because even though it's protected by the knight and the queen, I wanted to be able to retake with the rook if the bishop ever comes to e6 and exchanges itself. So that was my thinking there. Knight g6, 100% a normal knight maneuver for black in the Italian. Knight f1, queen e7. Queen e7 was a very curious move to me because your king is in the middle of the board. I'm castled. I'm ready to break open the center with d4. I'm ready to get some attack going. But this doesn't do anything. Sure, it protects e5, but the knight is already here protecting it. You're not going to build any type of a battery. You're not aiding your development of your pieces. You're not aiding king safety. I did not understand the idea behind queen e7. What I was thinking was maybe bishop here, queen here. I just didn't understand that move, and I don't think the engine does either because it's an inaccuracy. Waste of a move. It already kind of swings it in white's favor a bit. Just really didn't make any sense. So you're going to see the engine is suggesting knight g3 for white after this because this knight maneuvering to g3 continues to, it protects e4 and it has a little bit of a look to g or f5 should this bishop ever get exchanged and this spot and this square opens up. So knight g3. h5 was another curious, just so many moves from this opponent that it just made no sense to me. Just no sense. So in the opening, maybe here, or yeah, let's go here. You'll see people put their bishop, or even bishop here, queen here, castle king side, and go try to throw these pawns down the board. And obviously not here where I can just take it, but you'll see these pawns get thrown down the board. I forget the name of the opening. So h5 and getting this pawn down the board is a line that you have to look out in the opening, but went a little too far ahead there. But h5 here just makes no sense. So when you're in a position like this, the opponent's king is in the dead center. It is very poorly protected. The opponent's not going to castle queenside because all these pawns are already pushed. So pushing pawns in front of the king of where you would be castling is a terrible idea, because then you're just worsening any remaining king safety you have when you castle. Pushing h5, you're not threatening anything. You're not preparing anything, because I could quickly break open the center and start attacking your king. If you castle, this pawn is now a liability because it can be very easily won back. You're not going to push here because I can just move my knight, and then the attack, for lack of a better word, completely fizzles out. If anything, h5 just prevents me, or makes it easier for me to hop my knight in here should I ever need to do that. Or just bring my bishop here, because then you no longer have h6. So h5, just a really bad move. A really bad move on my opponent's part. I really didn't understand this one either. I'm not sure if he was just thinking, let me try to get something going, try to get an attack going, but very premature because his king is not safe, and he's got a little bit more developing to do before he gets any type of attack going. We continue on. d4. Just trying to open up the center, take advantage of the poor king safety. My king safety is better. My pieces are pretty well coordinated in where I want them to be. Sure, this bishop's not developed yet, but I wasn't exactly sure where I wanted it to go. So that's why I've been kind of hanging out with it on c1 still, on its home square. So d4, looking to break open the center. Maybe start going here, getting my queen and rook, something along those lines. Bishop b7, another really curious move. What I'm assuming he was thinking was, this pawn can get pushed, and then this bishop is going to be pretty strong on these diagonals. But what he missed is, this allows me to do a couple things. It allows me to just break open the center, and this king is really nowhere good to go. Sure, if I open it, this rook can come here, but there's a million places for my queen to go, and I'm not worried. Second to that, it allows knight f5, and the good thing about knight f5 is it's attacking the queen with tempo. The queen doesn't really have a ton of great squares to go to. So you're attacking the queen with tempo, and then you can continue your attacking ideas because this queen has to move, wasting a tempo. So bishop b7, really just a poor move, and this is where the game completely turns its tide from an even game, transitioning to the middle game, maneuvering, looking for weaknesses, to white is definitely better here. 100%. It's not an it's not an unwinnable game for black, but white is without a doubt better. So knight f5, attacking the queen. Queen queen d7 is best, but in the game I was anticipating queen here, queen f8, protecting g7, because was looking at d6, but I thought queen back protects both of these. So I just wanted to take a second to see what would happen if queen f8 gets played. Wondering if that's... Oh, all right, it's a good move. And then we start opening things up, because that's what I was anticipating in the game. Let's say d takes. You're not going to take with the knight, because then to hang this pawn. So d takes e5. And then... Oh, wait, I missed this. Boom. That knight fork is pretty nasty. But... Wants knight g5. Oh, yeah, I did look at this. So this knight move is pretty good. It wins a piece, but I think a little better is knight here, and then I think like rook here is what it suggests, or that might be in a different line. Knight d5. E takes d5. Okay, because I think what I looked at was... Oh. Sorry about that. Clicked the wrong button. But we're back. So I go here. I think what I looked at was rook here. Then I think it wants bishop takes. And then queen takes, and there. So that's why that rook move is bad. This still playable. This is a good move, but I think Engine likes queen c7 better. Regardless, he plays queen c7 in the game, so he plays a good move. And I didn't know why he went here because I was threatening g7. Maybe it's just a situation of kind of white is winning nearly no matter what. But here, I took with check. Knight takes g7. King f8. And then I think it has go knight back. So now black is completely lost because his king is extremely weak. The center is getting opened in my next move, and he's just got no options really. I have a million ideas to attack his position, and he just has no defensive resources that are really able to generate some counterplay. So the trouble with how black played here is his king was just sitting in the center for far too long while I was developing my pieces and getting my king safe. And then by the time he could have done something about his king safety, I was a move or two ready to attack, or move or two away from attacking. So he wasted a couple tempi that he should have been using to get his king safe, and because of that, I was able to get an attack going, and after that, it's just a lost game, really. So knight f5, just bringing my knight back. Rook d8, trying to discourage me from opening the center. It's an inaccuracy because I can just pin this knight, get ready to take it. There's no kind of protecting it, really. This king can't come anywhere near it. So rook d8, an inaccuracy because I don't have to open up the center. And if you take, I just retake, and that's fine. Bishop g5, pinning the knight. This is just a clean pin. There's really no way to protect the knight, so kind of give it up to exchange for the rook, and then put your queen there, because otherwise you're just losing a piece cleanly instead of losing in exchange. So that's why if you see knight g4, you're losing an exchange instead of a piece, but it's lost no matter what. Or the game is lost no matter what. Knight e8, you're going to lose this exchange no matter what, so fine if you want to protect that piece. Bishop takes, queen takes, d takes e5. I was hoping for just, something simple like this, and then I win the queen, but that, is a little bit silly. He plays bishop or queen b6, looking to get a battery here going, but after that, I just move my my king, and even still, rook f1, just rook f1, and nothing's coming down on f2. rook f1, and the attack just fizzles out. This battery is nothing I have to worry about ever again. So rook f1 gets played. D takes e5. There really wasn't much else to do. This is kind of, the end of the road for black coming up soon. I think queen d7, threatening mate. Can block with the rook, which we're going to see he does, but this knight's coming in, attacking the rook. You can bring your queen here, looking to exchange, recapture with the knight. But you're down in exchange. You're really, I'm up 3 points of material, really. And king safety for black is non-existent. White is perfectly happy. I'm going to be able to win this pawn pretty soon. This bishop is very strong, so the game is completely lost. Queen d7, rook h7. This is should be a blunder. This is excellent, but really it's over here. Knight g5, and my opponent resigned because you're losing this rook. Queen c7, I'm exchanging, and I'm taking the rook. It's just a lost game from this point. So to review a little bit, normal opening moves. Still normal, completely normal, nothing unusual here. And we're at move 10. 10 moves of just normal developing, even game so far, nothing crazy. b5, waste of a move, doesn't really accomplish anything, doesn't help address his weaknesses. So if you're sitting, and you're wondering what should I do as the opening is ending and the middle game is kind of transitioning, you think to yourself, is my king safe? What threats might be coming towards my king that I have to address? Are my pieces active? Are all my pieces developed? Could I bring some pieces to more active squares? This opponent didn't address directive number 1 of king safety. Castles should be, kind of screaming at him right now. But b5, first mistake. Bishop a2, knight g6, knight f1, queen e7, really the second mistake. Here, your king is still not safe. King is wide open in the center. I could push d4 here, but knight g3 is a bit more accurate. You're not preparing to castle queenside because all these pawns are pushed. You're not helping develop any pieces because you have no reason to develop your queen at this point. So it's not like your queen is joining the attack. So this is mistake number 2. Knight here, h5, mistake number 3. Your king is in the center, and it is going to get blown apart in just a very short time. So trying to maybe get some attack going, prevent some, I don't even know where that knight would have been going. But mistake number 3. I would count this bishop move as a mistake. It's nothing, that I don't understand. Like, I get it. You're trying to, get this bishop on this diagonal, but you have just such vastly more important issues that you need to address. Namely, this knight coming here, this queen is going to be under attack. Your king is wide open and has nowhere to go, or nowhere good to go. And the middle of the board is opening in the next move. So this is his next mistake. From here, just kind of suffering from the mistakes of the earlier part of the game. King is not safe. Your pieces have no ability to protect your king, and you pushed way too many pawns without having any coordination of your pieces. So even if the middle of the board does open up, you're not able to do anything with it because this bishop is not attacking anything. This bishop is really not going to be attacking anything that I can't just defend myself. And with your king, just sitting here asking to be attacked, you don't have time to get any counter play going, any counter attack going. You just don't have time. It's definitely lost from here. This is just kind of finishing the job and converting a game, or converting a one game. So Italian, a lot of simple developing moves in the opening, a couple mistakes, one or two by your opponent, and you're quickly blowing them off the board. It is an opening that can be very slow and positional, but it can quickly turn into sharp tactical games if your opponent's not careful. If your opponent plays well, it's a slow game. That's why it's called, the gioco pianissimo, or the gioco piano, the slow game, the very slow game. But if you're playing someone who doesn't know how to play that type of structure in the Italian, can get very sharp, very tactical, very quickly. So we'll see you guys in the next one. If you like these videos, give me a comment, or check out my other videos. But this was a really, really clean, well-played Italian, and just a couple mistakes by my opponent just completely lost the game. But definitely a good game. All right, thank you.